You've probably heard the phrase, defense wins championships, when referring to all types of sports from basketball to football or even hockey and baseball. This is probably the first time, however, that you ever heard the expression associated with playing on the World Poker Tour. Just like in real sports, in poker, offense is a lot more flashy and exciting to watch, but it's defense that will get you the title along with money prizes that usually exceed $1 million. When you think of offense in terms of poker, you think of raising and re-raising or maybe even making some big bluffs. That might make for good television, but it's not going to help you get to the big dance, the final table. There is generally a misconception about how the top pros are able to get the money more often than others. They aren't doing it with wild bluffs that risk large percentages of other stacks. The real key to long-term success and consistency is playing solid defense. In poker, playing defensively is often considered weak or passive. Well, if you consider guys like Phil Ivey, Gus Hansen, and me weak at the poker table, then you just don't really understand the reasoning behind erring towards the cautious side in large pots. Let's take a look at an example. Players raised you in the big blind and you defended it with ace-jack. Now the flop comes ace-9-4 and you check to your opponent. Now if he bets half of the pot, what would you do? The strong or offensive play would be to check-raise the flop, while the weak or defensive play would be to check and call. In this case, the best play is usually to take the cautious approach. You have a strong hand with aces and a decent kicker, but your hand is far from the nuts. If your opponent has ace-king, ace-queen, two pairs, or a set, you're in deep, deep trouble. By playing cautiously, you're accomplishing two things. One, you rope your opponent in by letting him try to bluff you out of the hand. And two, more importantly, you're being careful as to minimize your loss in the hand when you're beat. Of course, the one thing you do by not raising your opponent on the flop is letting him catch a card to beat you. However, with a board like ace-9-4, what card is he going to catch to beat you if he doesn't have you beat already? If he has ace-10, for example, that only leaves one of three remaining 10s in the deck to beat you. Not very likely. Or if he has a hand like pocket kings, then he can only catch one of two remaining kings. Let's take a look at another example. You hold queen-10 of hearts and the flop reads 9-8-4 with two hearts. The turn is the 4 of diamonds, and the river card comes the 5 of hearts, giving you a queen-eye flush. All along, your opponent has been betting at you, on the flop and on the turn. Now on the river, your opponent once again leads out and bets the size of the pot. Now you just hit your flush, so what should you do? Frankly, you really only have two good options here, call or fold, depending on the player. Raising here would be an offensive play, but it would be often a bad idea depending on the situation. If your opponent can bet all the way and still bet the river card, you have to worry that he might be betting a higher flush or even have a full house already. If you decide to raise on the river, chances are that your opponent will only call you when he has you beat, thus giving no positive value to your raise. You lose more when you're beat and win no more when you have the best hand. I see too many young players overplaying their hands before and after the flop, going broke in situations where a more experienced player would have been thinking defense. Your main objective in a tournament is to survive longer than everyone else and eventually win all the chips. You can't win the tournament in the early stages, but you can get yourself knocked out foolishly if you aren't thinking defense first.